class. This is Mr. Melendez. It is March 25th, 2020, and we're going to be looking at lesson topic 4.12, which is the role of women after World War One. So I'm making a video and we're going to go over the slides quickly. So let's start with the first one. Focus question. What were the changes of women's role during the 1920s? So as we got into the Roaring Twenties, we see that we have a shift in culture where we have kind of like this boom in technology, a boom in politics, and a boom in the arts. All right. What we also see is how roles have changed for women soon after the war and into the 1920s. And what we're going to be looking at is how did these roles shift so that way when we look at our documents for our assignment today, we're able to analyze them properly and then just answer the questions that are provided with each document slash picture. All right, this is an easy assignment, so don't worry. All right, so let's click on to the next slide. So women before the 1920s. Most women, especially when we're talking about women, we're talking about white women, usually didn't work outside the home. They usually tended to the home and to the children. They took care of everything that was associated with the home. They did the cooking, they did the washing, all right, and they took care of the children. This was considered traditional domestic work, all right. They went ahead and did all these things. At the same time, they were conserving food and fuel resources. This was early part of the war, and this is what most women, specifically white women, were doing at the time. However, war starts, and we see this kind of like shift in society. Women are starting to join the military, and they take on roles as being nurses. As men are being drafted into the war, close to about 23,000 women are entering jobs that were left behind by the men that were drafted into the war. So a lot of men were working in factories and industrial plants. So as they left and they went to war, these vacancies for these jobs needed to be filled, and naturally a majority of women were able to enter the workforce and fulfill these specific jobs. A lot of these jobs were very different across the board. Some dealt with shipment, some became tax collectors, accountants, telephone operators, even working in on steel mills and industrial factories. Okay, it was very, very important to understand that women who worked outside the home before the war had better job opportunities after the war. Okay, a lot of them were able to keep their jobs once the war ended, and some of them even received promotions throughout their time as they were working outside the home. Let's go to the next slide. The biggest thing that we see here in the Roaring Twenties is the passing, the approval, which we call ratifying the 19th Amendment, which gives full suffrage for women. Basically, it gives women the right to vote. And women have been fighting for this for many decades now. After women succeeded in traditional male jobs, they began to demand better wages and political rights. So the 19th Amendment not only gave women the right to vote, but it also attached itself to some other things that women were fighting for, and that is going to be discussed in the next slide. So not only did they get the right to vote, they also were requesting equal rights towards women and men, or between men and women. They also wanted to make mothers joint guardians over children at the time. If couples got divorced, it was common practice that the father would usually get the children, because usually men married right away and they were able to sustain a family. A lot of women did not remarry. This was just something that was cultural during that time frame. Next slide. What we see now is a shift in fashion for women. This is where we start seeing how women in society changes. We see women when it comes to jobs and how they took care of their homes. That shifts because of things that are happening because of the war, before the war, during the war, and after the war. But one of the things that we see is that fashion starts taking a hold. And what we see is that women use fashion to make personal expressions. We see that women are starting to wear shorter skirts. A lot of it is raised up to the knee, which is giving a 25% exposure of the body. Dresses have shorter hemlines, meaning that they are becoming shorter, up to the knees or sometimes even past the knee or above the knee. As you can see in the pictures here, mostly this one and maybe a little bit of this, where women are starting to cut their hair shorter, and we call it a shingled bob. Very short hairstyle, and this was the expression of fashion back then. Okay? Not only that, but part of it also was a big attitude shift. Women started to become more vocal. Women, because they got the right to vote, they started to dabble into politics and start running for office in certain government positions. Women started to go out more. They started to drink whiskey and drink alcoholic beverages in public in these bars and um, these places. Famous here in New York City and Harlem is the Cotton Club. Women were smoking cigarettes, all right, and they were wearing these dresses and also participating in dancing. So we see this big cultural shift that is happening. Not only are women are becoming more responsible and joining the workforce, but they're also changing their fashion and the way that they look so they can feel better about themselves and also be more appealing to men and just wanting to express themselves, not wearing these long, very big, poofy dresses with big hats. They wanted to feel more free and more comfortable. Okay, class, so I'm going to go ahead and shift to the document that's going to be given to you on Google Classroom. And what you're going to see is this, the role of women after World War One document, and you're going to see about 4 documents. So because this is a Word document, you're going to be able to download this and put this on your computer. And if you need to make it bigger or smaller, go ahead and go down here where you hit the plus arrow and it makes the document bigger and able to read it in bigger size. Or you can decrease the size so that way you can see more of the picture of the document. Analyze and read the document, and every document will have a question. You have 4 questions that you need to answer. With this document, what is the major message of the above document? So, what's the main message? All right, the main idea of this particular document. Slide down, and you're going to see another image of women in the home front during World War One. You see this propaganda poster. You just see different things here. So you're going to answer the question down here. What do the above images tell us the role of women at home during World War One? And of course, if you come over here, you can type your answers where my cursor is and save the document. Question number 3, you're kind of doing a compare and contrast between these 2 images. Image of women back in 1910 and then women in the 1920s. So what similarities do you see in these 2 images and what differences do you see? And your last document is this one right here. And I put 2 words here, some vocabulary words. So ratify, we should know that ratifying means to approve. And when you hear the word suffrage, suffrage means the women's right to vote. So according to the map, why did states like New York, Texas, and California had full suffrage, while states like Florida and Iowa had partial suffrage? So why did these states that I mentioned, like New York and Texas, gave women the full right to vote, while other states like Florida and Iowa only gave women partial rights to vote. Um, this map right here has a lot of good information, and again, go ahead and click the plus sign so you have a better idea of what you're looking at. Okay. When you are done, then of course I want you to come up here and save as. And when you save the document, I want you to go all the way to the end and type in your full name, save it, and then you'll be able to upload the document onto Google Classroom. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Go ahead and complete your assignment and please post it onto Google Classroom. If you have any questions, go ahead and post your questions on Google Classroom, or you can email me directly during my office hours. Take care, everyone, and I will see you the following day online for your next lesson. Take care.